channel. I am taking it back to the basics today with mascara and how to hack for beginners. So I started using Maskcara makeup, which is Maskcara, and that refers to everything but your eyelashes, which is confusing, I know, but it's a play on words. And HAC refers to highlight and contour, HAC. So you're gonna hear me say that several times throughout the video tutorial, so now you know, and we're using the same lingo. But taking it back to the basics, I started using Maskcara makeup about 1.5 years ago, and I did a beginner's tutorial back then, and things have changed since then. Things evolve, you start to get used to something, and you get more like little tips and fun tricks. So I'm gonna take it back to the basics, but it has changed a little bit since my first beginner tutorial. So it's time to give it a little update. Now, you can get virtually color matched in person if you're local. I'll do free color matches. Or if you want to get virtually color matched, you can do that online. And I'll put a link down here that you guys can visit, and it tells you everything I need on there. You can submit your selfie through there. And I know what you're thinking. Virtual color match sounds kind of weird. How do you do that? It's all in the instructions through that link. And that's about 95% of the color matches I do. So I have experience doing that, and we make sure that we get it right. So sometimes, depending on the photo that's submitted, it might be a little off, but we have a 30-day return policy and a 60-day exchange policy. So if the colors seem a little off or something's reacting weird with your skin, which would be a shade issue, so we may need to go a little bit lighter or a little bit darker, then we can just have you exchange that color for something else. So if you have any questions on that, just let me know. You can reach out via email, leave a comment below, or contact me through my website at www.cghomeinteriors.com/contact. To get started, when you get color matched, I'm going to recommend a highlight and a contour. These two are what make your foundation. And then a blush color and an illuminator color. So with most makeup lines, the illuminator is what would be referred to as the highlight. But because our highlight in this line is part of your foundation, we call this an illuminator, which essentially is what it's doing. It's illuminating, it's that extra glow. Oftentimes I will also recommend a brightening highlight. So maybe 2 highlights, a contour, and a blush, and then the illuminator becomes optional at that point. And then the brush that you're gonna be recommended to start with, this will do your whole face, and that's what I'll show you today, is the 30-second HAC brush. All of our brushes are double-ended, and they're dense, and they're made to go with this cream makeup. So these are all cream-based. Our eyeshadows are not cream-based, they're powdered, just like a normal eyeshadow, and we do have a few powder illuminators. But when you're starting out, I typically recommend the cream illuminators until you get used to them, unless you're very experienced with highlight, referring to what would be in other makeup lines. If you highlight already, then you may be more comfortable putting a powder illuminator on top of a cream-based makeup. And then it also comes with a free magnetic compact. So when you order those 4 tins, you're gonna get this size compact here. If you order more tins than this, you'll go up to the next compact. This, you get to pick your own design. My go-to every day is this one. So this is my favorite. This is the double decker, because I'm a makeup junkie. And then you're also gonna need our Perfector Sponge. So you may have a beauty blender and use that and love it, but let me tell you, there is nothing as soft and wonderful as our Perfector Sponge. And I swear to you, I'm not just saying that. I actually tried to use my beauty blender with this makeup when I first got it because I was too cheap to get this, and it just took the makeup off. Try this, amazing. This is what pushes it into your skin so that the foundation is like a second skin. As you can see, I have nothing on my face today, except I do have my eyes done and my under eye concealer done since I did my eyes. But I have done no foundation, no highlighting, no contouring, nothing else. I haven't covered anything. I do have some, I deal with acne, and I have some scarring and melasma as well. And this makeup covers it beautifully. If you haven't seen my other tutorial about how to cover melasma with this makeup when your melasma is dark, go check that out because it's life-changing. That is what I do during the summer when my melasma is darker. Right now, my normal highlight and contour covers just fine. So let's dive right in. Well, not dive right in. I've been already chatting for 5 minutes. Sorry, guys. We will get started with my foundation color, My main foundation right now is gonna be Amber, which is this one right here. So this is gonna go all over my face, and I'm gonna use the pointier side of my 30-second HAC brush. A little bit of product goes a long way. So while these tins may seem pretty small, the highlight is what you're gonna go through fastest because it goes on more surface than the rest of the makeup does, but it should still last you 3 to 4 months. So compared to the foundation that I used to use, which cost me $60 for Christian Dior, and I was going through it in a month, if I was lucky, it would last that long. I'm spending $14 on this, and it lasts me 3 to 4 months. So the cost comparison is a no-brainer with these, even though it seems like you're gonna go through this in a week, but I'm telling you, a little bit goes a long way. So I'm just doing 2 dabs into this, and look how much it's already covered. Now with my melasma, I'm gonna go all over my face. If you don't want to layer, then you can certainly do this makeup in 1 layer and still highlight and contour and get that 3D effect. So that will come with a, your order will come with a little reference card of where to put everything. So it's kind of like color by numbers on your face. And if you have any redness or any rosacea or like scarring or anything to cover, then you're gonna wanna do what I'm doing and then just go with a light layer all over your face with the main highlight color. And then I stipple around my nose in this area because they have large pores there, but the rest of it I brush on just a little bit more in a sweeping motion. And you can already see the coverage and the brightening. So if you guys have never used a cream-based makeup before, it's gonna take some getting used to it as far as the feel, because it's not like a liquid or a powder foundation. Liquid and powders dry on your face and they settle into creases and they crack. Cream foundation does not do that. Another thing too is this is gonna look pretty scary before I blend it out, so just bear with me because this is like the most fun part of it. Now that I've got a good layer all over my face, let me just get a little bit more. I'm gonna stipple over here because I've got some stuff I need to cover. So I'm gonna stipple a little bit more product. And again, I just dipped my brush into the cream once. So the reason that these brushes work great with this makeup, and being that they're so dense, it is made for the cream makeup. So it's not like a liquid or where it's a powder where it's gonna settle into the bristles. These are so easy to clean, and we have an amazing brush cleaner as well. So now that I've got my main highlight done, I'm gonna go to the other side of the brush, flip that over, and go into my contour. The contour I'm using right now is this middle one, and it's called Indigo. Now these are the 2 main colors that you need to be color matched for, as your highlight and your contour, because that's what's creating your foundation. Blush, eyeshadow, all of that is personal preference. I'll make some recommendations when I color match you, but you don't necessarily have to go with those. And one thing to keep in mind with our colors is they're pretty intimidating in these tins, but you'll see how easy creams are to work with. So I dipped that side of my brush into the contour, and I'm just gonna find the hollow right underneath my cheekbone, and that's the line that I wanna follow to contour. So I'll just bring that down there. And you don't want to come in any farther than the edge of your eye, and definitely not the center of your, the edge right here, definitely not farther than the center of your pupil. So I would, just to be safe, just come to the end of your cheekbone right there. And what this is doing is creating a shadow in the areas that we want to push back. And if you can tell that this slims out my face and also lifts my cheekbone. So look at the difference there. I'll contour one side of my face and then do the other one so you can see the difference. Now I'm just gonna connect that and bring it down my jawline here. So the reason I'm bringing this down my jawline is to, again, just chisel that and create a shadow. So look at how much more lifted this side of my face looks, and I'm not even done contouring that side of my face. So as we age, we tend to head south a little bit. So if you have jowls or anything that's sagging here, you would simply come up onto that with the contour just a little bit more, and it's like magic, and it just pushes that back so that it straightens out your jawline. If you don't have much of a jawline, then this is great for creating that as well. So now I dipped in a little bit more, and I'm gonna go up here to my forehead and just contour up near my hairline. The purpose of this, again, is to create shadows, but if you have a larger forehead, it's going to make your forehead appear shorter. We wanna keep the brightness in this triangle right here in our face. So that's where we want it to be the brightest. And I'll show you what the brightening highlight is that I was referring to earlier. And then right here, I'm just gonna put a little bit on my temple and then make sure that I really push it up into my hairline, and we'll blend it. So don't worry, because this is where I was referring to as this looks kind of scary. But see the difference from one side of my face to the other, how much more contoured this side is and how much more chiseled it is. So we're just accentuating those features, those beautiful features and bone structure that we all long for, especially if we don't have that killer bone structure like some people. So now I'll go in and do the same thing on my left side. Right underneath the cheekbone, making that puppy match, and then we're gonna blend it out soon, so bear with me. I am just bringing that down my jawline there, connecting it to that. And then I also will bring this down my neck. I'll take it back up here to the top. Contour this. Forehead, temples, connect it to the cheekbone there, and now for the nose. So the nose is optional. If you want to straighten your nose, if you want it to appear slimmer, then you're going to want to contour it. What you'll do is take that same side of the brush, pinch it so that it's a little thinner, dip it into your contour, and it's okay. I usually do too much on my nose. It's totally okay. That's why I love creams, because they're so easy to work with. So I dipped that into my contour, and I'm just going to run that down the side of my nose right here. So depending on what you're trying to accomplish when you're contouring your nose, see, there's a little bit too much there, which is fine. I'm gonna flip the brush over and go back to my highlight end. I didn't even re-dip it, and just blend that out a little bit, which I'll correct it even more in just a moment. If you wanna slim your nose, you're gonna wanna come up onto the bridge of the nose just a little bit more. If you're just wanting to straighten your nose, then you'll go down the side right here. Now you can see I have a bit of a bump, and so that gets accentuated when I contour this side of my nose. So you have to be careful with that, and I'll have to do a little bit of correcting with my highlight color, which is no big deal. I'll show you how I do that. So I've got that contoured, and then I like to connect it down here just a little bit too, so it almost brings it like a V down at the bottom. Perfecto. Scary, right? This is the most fun part. This is why this makeup is so fascinating to watch people apply. So I'm dipped into my main highlight color a little bit more, and I'm just gonna apply that on the bridge of my nose just because I went a little bit higher than I wanted to with the contour. So this shows you just how easy it is to correct any mistakes with this makeup. Okay, got that puppy contoured. Another trick with contouring, if you like a little bit of a poutier lip, is just to put a little bit right underneath the bottom lip there. That just makes it appear a little bit poutier. And I'll show you a little trick for the top lip too once we get to that point. So now I've got my Perfector Sponge. I've already gotten this wet, and I've wrung it out in a paper towel. I want it damp. I don't want it wet because I don't want it to remove the makeup. Now I'm gonna come in. This is an optional item that I recommend when I color match you. It's our Stay Setting Spray. We have one with SPF and one without. This is the one without. What I'm gonna do is spray that all over my Perfector Sponge and just work it in there. So I want this damp. I don't want it wet because I don't want it to remove my makeup. I just want it to blend it and push it into my skin so that it doesn't feel cakey, and it's just that beautiful, flawless, glowing coverage. So now that I've got this down, I'm gonna start pushing it into my skin You don't want to wipe. You will wipe your makeup off. So you're pushing the makeup into your skin right now and blending everything that you just did. So as I mentioned earlier, creams are not gonna dry like a liquid or foundation, so it's not like you're under a time limit to try to get this all blended out, because it's gonna stay movable on your face, which I call, it's like a second skin. And if you go a little bit too dark anywhere, it's so easy to correct because it stays movable. So if you're not an expert with makeup, or you are not used to highlighting and contouring, no big deal. I wasn't either, and then I started using this and it was a game changer. So see how beautifully that blended out after seeing how harsh it was? Now I'm gonna, since I brought some of the contour down my neck, I am wiping this part just because I want that to blend nicely down my neck, and I definitely don't wanna see any lines there. So just getting this up into my hairline to make sure you don't see any crazy lines. But now do you see why this is called 3D foundation? My face does not look one-dimensional, like if you were to go in with a liquid or a powder and just completely mattify everything in one color. My favorite thing about this makeup. Now I'm gonna go in with my brightening highlight. So this again was one that I mentioned that I'll most likely give you unless you're very fair. Then I may not recommend a brightening highlight because you're already so bright, but if you're pretty tan or you're in some of our mid to darker tones, then I'll recommend a brightening highlight. And if you don't want to get all 5 of those tins to start with, you don't have to. I would just ask you to swap out your Illuminator for the brightening highlight because I would rather you have this. Now I'm going to go back to that end. I'm not rinsing it that I used for my main highlight, and I'm going to dip it into my brightening highlight and just stipple that on right underneath my eyes. And you'll just think of this as a little triangle area right here underneath your eyes that we want to brighten. So I'm pushing it in there, and then I will blend that in just a moment, and then I'm coming up onto the side of my nose just a little bit there. So see the difference? This side just looks so much more alert and awake. Do the same thing on this side. Stipple, stipple, stipple in that triangle underneath your eyes. I don't want to cover up my contour that I did, so I'm keeping this right on top of my cheekbone. Now I'm going to do a little bit on the center of my chin here. So remember when I was saying we want this triangle to be the brightest, that's what we're going to focus on with this brightening highlight. Just going to feather that out a little bit on the center of my forehead, and then bring it down my nose. So with my ring finger, I just dipped it into the highlight, and I'm going to bring that right down the center of my nose. And now I'll go back to my Perfector Sponge and blend that out. I just need to correct that a little bit with, this is the contour end. So I'm just correcting my nose contour just a bit. Okay, going back to my Perfector Sponge, I'm gonna take a clean side of that and do the same thing. So I'm pushing this brightening highlight into my skin and blending it out into the other colors. I did not re-dampen or respray. I don't need to at this point because it's the perfect consistency. Okay, now if you're a girl who likes full coverage makeup, you can do that. You can go as light or as full as you want with this makeup. You just would start, I would recommend starting with a light layer like this and then building up from there. So it's not cakey and you're not taking it off with the Perfector Sponge. So it is definitely buildable. Next, what I'll do, because I'm oily, I like to use a setting powder. And Maskcara's setting powder, we do have one, and it is a powder, it's not a cream. But it's just a little bit too light of coverage for what I need. So I've used several. And my go-to that I keep coming back to is Benefit Professional Agent Zero Shine. This one does great for me during the summer. I live in Arizona, it's super hot here. So you just dump some of it into the lid here. And then there's a little brush on the bottom that you take off. You wanna pull that little sleeve down and then just dip that in there, tap off the excess. And so the reason I'm doing my setting powder at this point is because I don't want to cover up my Illuminator, and I also like to see my blush color pretty prominently. So I don't want to cover those up and go over those with powder. If you like a matte look, then I definitely recommend a loose setting powder. If you like a dewy look and you don't have oily skin, then you can get away with not setting this makeup at all. Again, with creams though, it's not gonna dry, so you might have to get used to that. It might feel like it's sticky if you don't set it. So that's what I hear from some clients is, why does it feel sticky? And so that's when I recommend a setting powder, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's a game changer. So you can, I mean, it's totally personal preference, as is all makeup. And coverage and all of that, but I do have to set. So this is a little more matte than I like it to be right now. I used to be a total full-on, like, give me the mattest matte makeup you absolutely can. Now, after using this, I love that dewy glow. So it's almost like that pregnancy glow without having to be pregnant. And it's my favorite. So with my oily skin, my oil will try to break through, and once it does, I start to get that dewy glow. So like within the next half hour or so, it's gonna be just amazing. Now I'm gonna go in with my blush. So I like that, since my eyes are done, I'm gonna do my blush now. And again, I'll recommend a blush color for you. Some of these, so like this one right here, Black Cherry, is so amazing, but it looks so dark. And if you want me to swatch any of these colors for you and send you a photo when you're choosing what colors you want after I color match you, I'm more than happy to do that. I'll swatch this one for you just so you can see. Let me just get a little bit on my brush here. So just 2 dabs, got a little bit, and I'm using the same contour side. Look how that goes on. So see how intimidating that was in the tin, but it goes on pretty light, and it's buildable. So I recommend getting used to how much you want on your skin and then building it from there, rather than you don't want to dig into these, because then it goes on really dark. But again, you can blend it out. It's super easy to correct. So if you do, not a big deal. But today, I use Plum today. That's another really pretty color, and it is this middle one. So again, using the contour side of my brush, if I didn't put Black Cherry on there, I wouldn't wipe off any contour, because I'm telling you, since these brushes are designed for this makeup and it just stays on the end, it comes off on your skin and you're not wasting a bunch of product on the brushes. And so you can just continue to use, which is great. And our brush cleaner will not saturate the brushes. It disinfects, and it's a spray, so your brushes are dry right away, but it gets them looking brand new. And then if you immerse your brushes in water, that's why they shed, because it loosens the glue in the brush. So we don't recommend that, which is why we have the spray, which also is an antibacterial, so that it disinfects everything and your brushes are like brand new again. So I do that once a week with ours. Dipping that in, I'm gonna do 3 times, maybe 4. This is one of our lighter colors. So I'm going to smile, so it pronounces the apple of my cheek, and then tap it on to the apple there. And we'll blend this as well. So I just like to go on the apple above where I did that contour, and when I blend it, I'm gonna blend it back, but I'm not gonna apply it back there. So same thing on this other side. And if you want your blush darker, go for it. If you want it lighter, start out light and do it. I love to see my blush. This is like my favorite step besides Illuminator. So I'm gonna put this on here. Plus when you blend it out, it does lighten it up quite a bit. So kind of looks like a doll, right? Or a clown if we had red on. So watch this. Taking my Perfector Sponge again, I'm gonna go in with the larger side of that and blend this out. And then if you put your blush on and you blend it out and you're like, I can't see it, add more, no big deal. If you put too much on, you'll see, I'll show you in just a second where I correct just a little bit because when I blend, it came in a little bit too farther than I wanted it inward. So I'm just blending that up. I'm gonna go back to the highlight side of my 30-second HAC brush and just blend that line a little bit and brighten up where I don't want it. So see the difference and how easy that is? So I didn't apply any more highlight to my brush. I'm just using the little bit that is still left on there, which is my brightening highlight that I did because that's what was on there last. So look at that beautiful color and coverage. I just cannot even get enough of this makeup. Now with this again, you could use your finger for this step, but I like to use the pointier end of my Perfector Sponge, and I'm going to use my Honey Illuminator today. This one is my absolute favorite. I will recommend a couple Illuminator colors for you when I color match you, and then you can decide from there. But I recommend based on your skin tone. So if you're a little bit more golden, or you have yellow undertones, then I love Honey or Rose Gold. If you're fair, Pearl and Dream are beautiful. So you can see here, when I put that on, it doesn't really look like anything happened, but when I turn my head, that's when you see the magic of the Illuminator. So I'm applying that on the top of my cheekbone, just above my blush where I just did that. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. So with the Illuminator, you can get a good amount. You can really dig into this. And if you use your finger, you're obviously gonna get a little bit more on there, but you can see how much I've got on there. Because this is so light and sheer, it's kind of hard to over apply it. And again, if you do, that's okay. With the powders, it's a little easier to over apply. So that's why I usually recommend the creams to start if you're not used to this step in doing your makeup, just so you get used to the application and where to put it, and you don't feel like you're not yourself. I always like to do a little bit on the tip of my nose, bring it up just slightly. And then here's the other part I was telling you about, the little trick for the upper lip. I'm gonna get a little bit on there and just pat that onto my Cupid's bow. And I may need to, there we go, blend it a little bit more. Do some up here. I mean, Illuminator is so much fun. It's just anywhere you want a little bit of extra glow. Do it on your chin. But see how that pronounces the Cupid's bow a little bit? So it kind of creates that like faux lip injection there. Pretty cool, right? So that is how you do a basic hack. Let me show you one more thing. So I have recently been crushing on a nude lip with our lip and cheek colors. So while they're blush, they're also good for your lips as well. You can use them as eyeshadows if you're in a hurry. Everything is so versatile. The contours make great eyeshadows sometimes if you just need to slap something on your eyelids and get out the door. So this indigo contour that I used on my face, I'm gonna take our eyeshadow everything brush. So this is what I used for my eyes today. I do my lid and my crease. I'm sorry, my lid and my crease with this side, and then outer corner with this smaller side. Now I'm gonna take this smaller side and dip it into my indigo contour that I used on my face, and I'm gonna line my lips with it. So just a light coverage. And then I'll do the same thing on the top. Now on the top, to create another faux lip injection look where you just get a little bit more pout on the top, I'm gonna line it, but I'm not gonna follow my Cupid's bow. I'm gonna go in like a half circle here. So naturally the brush and the color want to follow my Cupid's bow, but it's just bringing a little bit more up here, as you can see, and just creating a fuller lip. Now, for the sake of keeping it simple and showing you what you can do with your palette, your starter palette, with just those 4 colors, I'm gonna dip my finger into Plum and apply that to my lips. What a wonderful nude lip, huh? And one of my other favorite colors to do this with, instead of plum, would be this petal. Petal pink is super light. That is going to be our lightest lip and cheek color. So when you put it on your cheeks, you'll barely even see it. It is very, very sheer, but it makes a wonderful lip color. I absolutely love it with this look. To finish off the look, I'm going to do my eyebrows. So this brush is called our Know Your Angles brush. And I like to use one of our eyeshadow colors to fill in my brows. If you are a brunette or you have darker brows like I do, I usually recommend Trust, which is this eyeshadow color here. I use that sometimes if I do a more dramatic eye or it's like a date night or something. But for just an everyday look, I like to use Oak. And I'm gonna dip this, so this is a Know Your Angles brush. I used this spoolie side to brush my brows first, and now I'm gonna go in with this angled end to fill them in. So I'm dipping that into the eyeshadow. Again, I was referring to how versatile our products are. And this is another testament to that because this is an eyeshadow color. So I'm just following, I don't do anything fancy with my brows. Just filling in my natural shape just to finish that look off. So see the difference there? It's almost like walking out of the house without mascara on your lashes. You just have to finish the brows. Brows and lashes are so important. Okay, now I'm gonna flip this brush back around. I love that all of our brushes are double-ended. Basically getting 2 for 1, and the prices are great on these too. So double-ended on that one. Brows are complete. If you wanted to set them, you could also use your contour in your brows. So I've done that before too. The same indigo color that I used on my face, I could have used on my brows if I want them set a little bit more, or I can go in with the clear brow gel on top of this and set my brows. So that's it. That's how you hack. And as you guys do this, you'll get so much quicker at it. On days where I'm in a rush, I can do my full face of makeup in less than 10 minutes and I'm out the door. And it's also nice to cut down on the stash. So these are my 2 palettes. This is my one with my eyeshadows. This is one with my creams. And I put these in my makeup bag with my brushes. And when we're on a road trip or we're on the go and I'm not driving, I take it in the car and do my makeup in the car in 10 minutes and it's no big deal. The convenience of this stuff is amazing. Again, once you start using it and get the application process and how much you like to put on and where to put everything down, it's so quick, it's so convenient. I wish I had this when my boys were babies. And I mean, time is always, you know, not on my side. But it would have been so nice then when they were little to just feel put together and to be able to be put together so quick. So there's just something it does for your motivation and your productivity and self-esteem. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. If you want to get color matched, click that link below. Don't forget to subscribe as well for more tutorials. I do hair tutorials, I do DIY tutorials. I try to give it all to you guys. That covers it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Let me know if you have any questions.